Hey guys, what's up? It looks like the developers have dropped a question and answer session here, so I'm just going to go over it for you guys. If you want to come check it out, it's in their Dark and Darker Discord in the general section under Dev Q&A, and we'll jump right into it. So there's some questions here from Discord. Will you add PayPal as a payment method? We're working on it. It's taking more time than we thought. We expect to be able to use PayPal for payments in the not too distant future. So PayPal is coming for those of you who are waiting to buy the game. Will you add a friends list in the game? Okay, this is pretty big. Friends list feature is required. We initially intended to use Steam friend list feature, so we didn't prioritize it. Things are different now, so we're giving this feature a little higher priority, but even then it will still take quite some time. So it looks like, as we kind of expected, they were hoping to use the Steam friends list, and because we're not on Steam, it's been changed. So we are getting a friends list though, so that's good. What will the quest system look like? Satisfying the needs of each merchant and traveler will allow you to become more intimate with them. All right, so that's pretty cool. I was figuring that a lot of the new items like the skulls and cloth and everything would be to get a specific vendor a certain item for a reward. So that is coming. It looks like it's in the works here. Are any of the permanent season rewards planned? Or are any kind of permanent season rewards planned? Of course, we have a few ideas. It looks like they are going to do season rewards, so whether that's going to be a skin for playing on a wipe or other various things like that, maybe some emotes and stuff, we'll probably be able to unlock permanently to keep on future wipes. Will additional solo maps be added in the future? Yes. Okay, so they are going to do new maps. We're going to get some new solo dungeons as well as probably some new group dungeons. This is pretty much a confirmation of that. I guess they've already added one with the ruins thing, so we should definitely be expecting more. Here's another interesting one. What kind of play style is expected of the Druid? I was wondering this too, whether it was going to be like a healer, where we're going to have a lot of hots and things like that, more like a World of Warcraft style, or if we're going to do very heavily into shapeshifting, which might be a little bit difficult for them to implement because it's very different from many of the systems they currently have in the game. And it looks like Druids will be able to transform into animals. They'll have different abilities accordingly. Okay, cool. So they are going to go more of the animal route and less of the healer druid route. Is a duo map planned? No plans for duo? That's kind of too bad, but I understand they're not trying to divide the matchmaking pool up anymore, especially if they're going to do more maps for solo and group. Are we ever going to get personal player stats tab? Yes, it's information I really want to check when I play. Priority is a bit low. Okay, that'll be sweet. So that'll be something like kill death ratios, how often you're capable of extracting, maybe how much gold you've totally extracted, kind of like the high roller leaderboard, all that kind of stuff. So we will get a stats tab here eventually. Can we expect additional inventory stash space? This is a very important part of the game, so I won't say anything yet from various angles, but we have many concerns. Okay, so they're talking about stash space, but nothing confirmed yet. This is definitely hard. I'm conflicted on whether or not we should allow more stash space. Or maybe it's something you could buy, like a gold slink, like, hey, 5,000 gold or 2,000 or 3,000 gold for an extra stash space so that you can effectively reset your character almost for access to an additional stash. Or maybe even like a prestige system where you do that. You reset your character and that gives you access to an extra stash, but you lose all of your gear and your level and stuff like that maybe. Just thinking about this, but it looks like they haven't decided on anything. When will it be possible to gift the game to a friend? Looks like they're working on that. Not currently available. Will you be making it easier to get blue shards? I feel like it takes a really long time. They're going to look at that a little, keep looking at that for a little bit longer. The blue shards I think are a little much right now. I'm up to like, I think it's 250 extracts for my next blue shard. So that's 250 extracts, which I have to actually live on. So that's probably going to take me pretty close to 500 games, and I feel like I'm a pretty good player right now, just for one blue shard. So I think it's a little high, in my opinion. Will the game come back to Steam? The Steam court case was thrown out for the US side, so it's possible that it could come back with that, but it's also possible that the Korea case, which is still going on, will continue to block it from being on Steam. So hopefully it'll end up on Steam, but nothing's guaranteed right now. Any more events planned in the future? Nothing specific has been decided yet, but we are interested in various attempts. Okay, so I assume this is like the candy shops, things like that, right? The heart candy that we got. I was kind of hoping, and I'm partly expecting that by the time October rolls around, we'll get like a candy corn event, and that'll probably be pretty close to the end of the wipe, so we won't have to worry about the gear inflation too much. That's my bet on what they're doing, what they'll end up doing for these, for the candy shops and events and stuff. What kind of cosmetics are planned for the future? We're constantly looking for things that players will be happy with. Nothing specific here, but they are going to be doing more cosmetics. Yeah, that's kind of expected. When can we expect to see a quiver system? Currently in development. Awesome. Okay, so archers won't have to take their whole inventory and arrows. That's big. Quiver system is coming. How do you feel about the current state of the game? The game is still in a state where only the core part of the first-person extraction dungeon is implemented. This game needs more systems and more content to keep the season healthy and worth replaying. Yeah, I agree. However, what I am interested in at this point is to defend vulnerabilities such as possible to build the system to defend the core as effectively as possible. It is not possible to prevent 100%, but we are continuing to think about minimizing them in various ways. For that purpose, we will gradually introduce all existing methods. Okay, so I think they're talking about their focus right now is on cheaters and preventing vulnerabilities and just like cheeses and bugs, glitches, etc. And then they have another section in here for So Bad So Strange. He provided a number of questions, and I'll go over these. So he asked, the meta from prior playtests was to make some sort of level 5 mule character that would act as a second bank for our mains. Has there been any more talk about getting backpacks or chests to store things in our stash, or possibly more stash tabs? We have many ideas and thoughts about the stash space, but we won't choose one easily until we accumulate enough data. Okay, so they're still undecided, kind of like what they mentioned above. The first examples of the crafting and mining have now been included in the game. We have also seen maggots, moldy bread, skulls. Are these newer items for crafting or questing? And they have confirmed that these are for crafting and questing, and they're working on preparing it. Okay, so that makes sense. The moldy bread, the skulls, right? You'll be able to bring them to a vendor, get a reward, maybe craft something with it, etc. Can you chat about your thoughts on the quest system? Will we see really long and interesting quest chains like Escape from Tarkov that could be a month to finish? Our next content development targets is quests. If possible, we want it to be a collection of interesting challenges rather than a simple repetition. Okay, so they are going to be more interesting challenges instead of just do the same thing over and over again. Cool. Is there any future development plans on the lore end for who these characters are individually to extend the knowledge of our universe setting? This could be fighting in and or why, what brings them to the dungeon specifically, and if so, we'll be getting background content for such lore. Looks like they are working on stories related to lore for quite a long time. The writing work related to this has been sufficiently advanced and has taken concrete shape. We're thinking about how to express it naturally in the game. Okay, so there is lore that they already have, but they are trying to figure out how it'll end up in the game right now. Cool. What were your main source of inspiration for the enemies? What are some of the challenges you face in creating new monsters? What can we expect to see in terms of new monsters in future updates? Our monsters are meant to be made from familiar things that exist in traditional dungeons, and what I specifically want is for a monster to be something that's dangerous enough and a solution exists. Also, while the monsters are simple enough to respond in a one-to-one situation, it was designed with the expectation that various types of monsters would be mixed in real time to provide complex when fighting. Sorry, some of the grammar on this is kind of all over the place, but it's because they're a Korean studio and English isn't their native language. Part of what takes time when we develop monsters is tuning them properly to create animations that players can recognize and react to. I'm thinking of crafting a new boss that inhabits the goblin caves, that inhabits the goblin caves closer. And after adding or updating existing monsters is sorted out to some extent, we are planning completely new monsters in the newly added area. Okay, so they are adding a new area. However, the AI patterns for all these monsters, including bosses, were created by a single game designer. That said, it takes time. Okay, so they actually only have one person doing the monsters and patterns and stuff, so hopefully they'll be able to expand that and produce them much more quickly. Okay, so will quests and the talent tree be added to the game in early access? Now those two are top priorities on the content side. Okay, so quests and talent tree are the top priorities right now and probably what we're going to be seeing in the next big update. So when we don't get a hotfix and we get a full, version 2 kind of a thing, we'll be seeing quests and talent tree. So that's super cool. We'll be getting more modifiers, less enchantments at any point. I like the mechanism, so we really want to implement it. However, discussions are active internally due to concerns about balance. It will take time to decide. Okay, so I assume this would be enchantments, kind of like World of Warcraft, where you can imbue a piece of armor with some kind of extra ability, whether it's like, oh, a flaming sword, or right, it'll just permanently have like ignite on it or something like that, that you could get through a vendor, or maybe you go to the fortune teller and they imbue it or whatever. So that is something they're talking about, but balance is a little bit hard. Will we get drops unique to every boss? So each boss has something to farm from them other than the named item global loot table. Currently, the drop table is in a very early stage. The direction I want to go in the future is to have different items for different areas and different items for each monster. Okay, so drop table is going to be updated. We will find it to be, it looks like it'll look similar to what you find in a typical multiplayer RPG game. So different things will have more drops depending on what they are, and they'll be more unique. I think they're getting closer to that, but we're not quite there yet. And the last one, will there be any major reworks to current classes that are underperforming or not performing as intended? And their response is, we're going to change the balance of classes very drastically after the end of the current leaderboards. Okay, this is big. So actually in the next like 5 days, 6 days, something like that, they're going to change the classes drastically. We know how difficult it is to balance this kind of game. Therefore, in the future, all classes will repeat the rise and fall. Damage reduction and rogues are the next major adjustments. Okay, so they're going to probably nerf fighters' damage reduction so that they're not completely invulnerable. I assume they'll add some kind of scaling there. And then rogues right now are pretty fun to play, but they are very much just like constantly a thorn in your side. If they're played properly, they can never be caught, and they can just kind of troll you for the entire duration of a match. And I think that is what needs to be tuned. There's often, right, if I'm playing a cleric and a fighter and a wizard or whatever, a rogue can pretty reliably come in and just mess with us, right? He'll have his little hand crossbow or something and just poke at us and just be a nuisance for the entire dungeon without us really being able to punish it. So I think they'll be tuning some stuff with that. And that is it for the Q&A section. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys later.